We'll reconvene now in open session, and I'd like to welcome everyone for the school board meeting for the School District of Amory. The first item on the agenda is consent agenda items, and I had that this month, and I will make a motion to accept those.
I'll second that.
Aaron seconds it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion's passed. And now there is none signed up for community comments, so we'll move on to our administrative reports.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
All right, been a busy month or so at AHS. Starting off, we had our academic and career planning in service on October 11th for the high school staff. One of the highlights of that was heading out to Minglewood Farms as a staff and seeing all the amazing things that they have going on out there. And it's always fun to see former students excelling as well and telling their story. Fabulous time out there. Lots of valuable information was gathered, as always has been the case with the ACP in service. We did some more work when we got back to the high school that night and have had a lot of really productive conversations with our students in the time since then with our ACP conference format. So another real positive thing there, so we're excited for that. We recently had our PSAT for any junior that was interested in taking that on October 13th. We've had some success stories in the athletic world. Deidre Meyer qualified for the individual state tennis tournament. Lost in the opening round, but had a great matchup. Our boys soccer team won the Middle Border Conference Championship. Unfortunately, they lost in the regional final this past Saturday in Spooner, but they had a great season. Our girls cross country won the Middle Border Conference Championship as well. They were sectional runners-up on Saturday, but they will be attending the state meet in Wisconsin Rapids this weekend. And Logan Dockendorf just missed going out as an individual for boys. He was one place away, so that was disappointing, but Logan had a great race. Future events coming up. Our FFA squad leaves tomorrow morning for Nationals in Indianapolis. They'll be gone October 26th through 29th, continuing on the history of FFA excellence at AHS. We have the Youth Risk Behavior Survey in connection with Wisconsin DPI. We'll be administering that at the high school on October 27th. That is Wednesday. As mentioned before, our fall sports playoffs, all we have left is that girls cross-country team for Saturday. We've got the school musical coming up. Mary Poppins will be performing November 4th through 7th. Tickets are available at the high school or at Chet's. There are 4 performances this year: Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, and Sunday matinee. We will have our Veterans Day performance on concert and event November 11th at the high school. And we also have a career day at Northwood Technical College on November 11th for our interested students in that field. That's it from the high school.
Thank you, Josh.
Thanks, Jack.
Okay. Lots going on at the middle school as well. One of the big things coming up, and this is 3rd through 8th grade, we have the Dramarama Festival, which is on November 6th, and that will be held in Osceola. And we have some small group performances and some individual solo acts. This is where students, without costumes or props, have to put on a dramatic presentation, and they're judged and scored. And we didn't have that event last year. That got canceled district-wide or statewide, but it's nice to have it back and running this year for our students. Boys basketball started today at the middle school and had quite a few kids in there, and that was exciting to see them all getting ready and playing and getting prepared for the season. We have our Warrior Way celebration. It's our second one of the year. First one was tied to homecoming. This one's kind of tied into more of a spooky Halloween theme. And they're going to be concentrating on respect and what respectful behavior is. And somehow we agreed that if kids earned respectful tickets, they could have their name drawn and they get to throw dodgeballs at me. So somehow that's the respectful reward. I don't know, but that's what they're doing. So I'm prepared to try to dodge. Don't have my cat-like reflexes anymore. But Our middle school data retreat committee is coming up on November 4th. We're going to be meeting to dive further into some information. We did get some preliminary looks on state reporting that we are not allowed to bring out to the public yet, but we will be doing so, I believe, in December. And we're going to be taking a look at it, though, internally, and the main purpose for those data points are to come back and to take a look at what we're doing internally and making improvements at all times, to always look for growth for our schools. And we had a really successful district in-service day last month there, and we have one coming up on November 8th. We have a speaker coming in for the staff. It's called the Lost Boys Conference. It's a nationally known speaker, and we're real excited about that. If you take a look at a lot of the data out there, our boys nationwide get more discipline slips than the girls, and that is really prevalent in Amory as well. Also, nationally, they'll talk about how boys are underperforming academically and why is that. And so this speaker comes in and talks about issues with boys and how we can better motivate boys and how we can better connect with boys and have the boys connect more into the education and the purpose behind the education so they can have as much success as possible. So that's a pretty great conference. We're real excited. We wrote some grants to bring this in and trying to bring in a speaker that's nationally known is sometimes difficult, and we were really, really lucky. We have one of the best experts in this field coming right here to work with our staff on how to best work with all our students, but especially the boys. So those are things that are coming up. Any questions?
Hey, Tom. You're talking about boys and basically the inequity that we're facing nationwide. Was there, at one time, we saw girls that were not as prevalent in science, technology, engineering, math, in those areas. Did we have initiatives during those times that encouraged girls to be more involved, be more accepted into those programs as well?
Well, certainly I know I go all the way back to when I was just out of college and doing a master's degree. I did a full thesis on science and engineering in the tech fields and trying to get more girl participation in technology and also in vocational areas. That certainly has been a focus when you go all the way back to even in the 60s and 70s with girls not being in math and science to the level that the boys were as far as an enrollment is concerned. We definitely don't see that now, which is a great thing as far as that effort, as far as trying to make sure that everything was equitable. We're really lucky, like at the middle school, where all of our kids in the middle school format take all of the classes and get exposed to everything. So all our boys are taking family consumer ed, all our girls are taking tech ed, and encouraged to try to find what they really are interested in and to branch out into high school. I don't have any data at the high school to see where those numbers are at. Josh could probably answer that. But yeah, that certainly was the focus. And so like what we're looking at now is our data. And I'll be honest with you, our data has shown that there are points where 90% of the discipline slips earned in the district or at the middle school were boys. And it's really tied to disruptive behaviors, and we are really taking a look at, is there not enough movement? How are they getting bored? How can we get more hands-on experiences? And we can continue just to say, oh, you're not behaving the way we want, or you're not achieving the way you want, and here's a consequence for it. And you can only do that so often when you have to step back and take a look at, well, what are we doing that can be, what can we improve, and what can we do to try to connect to these students? And again, and the key, I think, too, when we look at it is it's only a small number of kids, because most of our kids don't get any discipline slips, but when they do, and 90% of them are boys, we have to take a look at it. And that's a district-wide thing. It's not just the middle school, and it's a nationwide thing. So, yeah, we're real excited to see what strategies we can get to try to service those kids in a better way. I'll turn over to Josh then.
I'll just touch upon the STEM stuff a little bit. We're really excited with what our girls are doing in the areas of science and technology at the high school. You know, we've got young women that are working on our construction academies. We have a number of females that are out on work release. If you go into our calculus classes, our upper level science classes, we have girls just pouring out of those classes. So we're really excited. And I think, the history at AHS is, it doesn't matter whether you're male or female, there are so many open doors out there. And that's the other beautiful thing about our ACP conferences and focusing on the career readiness. I really think that our staff does a good job at making even, especially our women feel like there's no door that's closed. There's all sorts of doors. So yeah, that's one area that doesn't get measured, but I think we excel in that.
Again, I think that was kind of just a question that I had that kind of led that point of, I grew up in that era of women not being encouraged into the science, technology, engineering, mathematics field, and that I think it was because of those opportunities, because of that push in the schools that made that normal and okay for girls to have those opportunities, that we've seen a growth where in a time where I have a daughter, to see her have those opportunities and to see these young women that are able to excel in those areas because of the intervention that was possibly done back when they were younger in strides. And so I'm hoping that will be the same outcome that we have here with looking at that. So
Okay.
I guess that was my question. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Hi, good evening. Just as Josh and Tom have shared, the intermediate school is a very busy place. As you can imagine, Halloween celebrations are on Friday, so there's a lot of excitement, a lot of talk about Halloween costumes. Our English language arts ELA adoption is continuing and ongoing, as we've shared over the last couple months. On the 14th, we had a half in-service day, and we facilitated Zooms with educators that are actually using one of the curriculums that we're looking at, we're considering, and it was fantastic. So we've really developed some great relationships with other school districts, hearing on the pros and cons of some curriculums that we're considering. We have developed some answer and question sheets, and that work will be continuing to ongo throughout the year. Parent-teacher conferences went very well. We had an attendance rate of 93%. We offered parent-teacher conferences by phone, Zoom, and in person, which I think parents appreciated. The different options to be able to have a Zoom and talk to parents. Really what's important to us is that we're making connections with those families. PBIS, the first Warrior Way rally, took place on October 1st. It was very high stakes for me. I had to walk through hula hoops that were laid out on the ground by the PBIS student leadership team, and they had to answer questions, and if they got the answer correct, I got a little bit closer to a basketball hoop. So it was very high stakes in that if I missed the shot, they got nothing, and if I made the shot, they got a popsicle party. So thankfully, I have a lot of experience in making some good basketball shots, so I made the first shot. Although I had a really great speech prepared about second chances and how you give people second chances, but I didn't need it. The PAC leadership team meets monthly. We met just a couple weeks ago and went over the protocols for COVID. We got some feedback on parent-teacher conferences and then just planning some upcoming events that we have going on. An exciting event was the high school FFA did a Food for America at the high school. So it was a series of activities set up where our 3rd through 5th graders traveled over to the high school by hayride and participated in some agriculture activities. The students really enjoyed that. Montessori has taken several field trips this month. They have gone to a couple local farms, and then they also did a field trip by foot downtown. That was a civil engineering field trip to look at all the new construction that's going on, and then they came back to their classroom and applied some of that new knowledge. 4th grade visited Z Orchard. My 4th grader had wonderful things to say. Really, it's a wonderful thing that we're able to visit local places here. They got to learn about apples and honey production and just agriculture in general. And then finally, Title I had their fall parent meeting and breakfast. So that happened here at the intermediate school. Breakfast was provided by school nutrition. And then our Title I team did their annual presentation. And it was very well attended. We had 39 students in attendance, and we had 39 adults in attendance as well. Upcoming events include the Halloween Parade on Friday, and then the IPO Halloween Carnival happening Friday evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, folks. Just a couple training updates from Pupil Services. We've got a training upcoming for some para-educators, and that's strategies to support the core curriculum. That's going to be hosted by CISA. And I know that occasionally we give feedback to CISA around the professional development and just what they help us out with. And one of the things that I know was communicated is relevant professional development. That's like one of the big things that we really appreciate. And in my mind, this training here with the topic of how to support kids in the classroom, to have them access the highest standards as possible, right? If you're not at grade level, what's the next closest grade level standard that we can get you through into this core curriculum for our students who may be struggling with accessing those core standards. So I think this is a great training, a good opportunity for our para-educators, not just our teachers, to get some more skills in helping kids access grade level instruction. And then the next training is offered through DPI, and that's really an update to speech language criteria. That criteria has changed. It's gone through a process of about a year now, and it's here, and the criteria has been updated and implemented now. So that's leading to a lot of conversation in terms of our speech language pathologists' ability to interpret the new criteria and then to apply it through the IEP process. So it's helpful, especially outside of my wheelhouse in terms of a profession. It's not something that I'm able to provide staff with as far as training or a lot of guidance. So we appreciate that help. Child Development Days did take place over parent-teacher conferences at the elementary school. Participated in screenings and ages and stages checklists. Just really like to thank our school nurse, Rose Kupker, Teresa Haynes, our early childhood teacher, and also our Pupil Services Secretary, Tracy Heemer, who do a lot of the heavy work in organizing that and then following through with the screenings and setting everything up. It makes me, parent conferences, attendance-wise, it just makes me start thinking, what is this going to look like 5 or 10 years from now? We're in a place where we used to do all live parent conferences. There was no virtual option. It starts to make me wonder on the horizon, what can we do potentially with screening and child find to getting more people through the door, whether that's a physical door, the school, or virtually, so we can connect with those families that need some information about the services that we provide. And lastly, collaboration. Pupil Services staff participated in a meeting. We met with Chris Crow, who's the director of North Star Academy in Cameron. He's also a schooled mental health facilitator, chair of the Polk County Mental Health Task Force. And what we're really looking for him to help us with are kind of looking at our local providers of counseling, of any mental health service and support agencies that we might be able to form a collaboration or potentially some sort of consortium, whether that might be the ability to provide therapy for students that have identified needs in mental health. It could just be training to bring into the school district area for staff around mental health resources. Or just to help us with our, coming up with new interventions addressing mental health. So right now there's not an absolute clear emphasis that we're going to focus on counseling here, or we're going to focus on training. Laying the groundwork of the capacity of the professionals around us is important work to do, and that's something that Chris can certainly help us do with his experiences. So we're going to just look forward to continuing to work with him and hopefully increase our mental health support here in the School District of Amory. Have any questions?
Brad, the professional development, the student core standards performance that you're talking about, that's open also to para-educators. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. When is the training?
I think it's November 8th. It's,
Okay.
yeah. It's,
And is that open to all of our paras or certain paras, or how is that?
well, it's open. I've sent I've invited all of them. I've asked them to, the paraeducators to check in with their supervising teachers. Of course, we want to provide really good professional development, but there may be some special ed paraeducators that are working with more a functional skills group or intellectual disabilities where they may not be as valuable to, they may not be pushing into classrooms. So they're all aware of the training, and I'm helping to work with teachers just to make sure that we get the right people there so that we can, get the best bang for our buck for the training, because there is a fee.
Okay, and, but our paras they do shift around though, some, don't they? Can they shift around through the course of the year, or are they pretty much assigned for the whole year, or how does?
There is some flexibility in terms of assignments. It's, certainly we try to avoid, moving staff throughout the year, both for the sake of the student relationships that are created, as well as just the employment difficulties that come up when we're trying to train somebody in at a new site each year. But occasionally we'll have somebody split. Right now we've got a new paraeducator that's split between two schools. So occasionally that occurs. It's not the first option. I don't like to go moving people around. It's not comfortable, again, for the employee. It's not comfortable for students sometimes. But we have that flexibility to program for student needs and to move paras around when the need does come.
And is that training during the day, like the school day, or is it after school, or?
The training is, they've offered one that's at the beginning of the school day, so it's, I think it's 8 to 9, and then there is a after-school opportunity for that training too. So we've worked with the paras to let them know that there's 2 times, and then communicating with the teachers again to try to find that coverage for paras if they're going to
It's
attend.
November
this.
8th, that's the in-service day too, right?
Yes, November 8th is the in-service day. There's 2 different presentations. One's for certified staff, one's for support staff.
I mean, like you had mentioned, maybe it was November 8th, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Brad. And do you have anything?
I do not.
Okay, then we'll go on to our informational items. First is the summer school report.
And I'm going to run through that summer school report so you can follow along on the screen or the hard copy in front of you. Any comparison that you see made is going to be a comparison of summer 2021 with summer of 2019, because the comparison to 2020 wouldn't work because we didn't have summer school. So, that being said, the first comparison is growth in summer school. We had an increase in enrichment course instructional minutes by 176,610. Again, that's from 21 to 19. Growth in swimming instruction by over 18,000. And then areas of driver's ed, music, weight training saw an increase of 147,000 plus. So instructional minutes went up, which means more gains for kids. What we accomplished, we provided learning opportunities for over 1,200 kids, encouraged academic growth for kids from 4K all the way through freshman year of high school, created 68 enrichment courses for students who have completed grades K through 8, and lastly, Smiles, relationships, new skills, and friendships. Plans and improvements for summer of 2022. I actually just put our first meeting on the calendar today because summer of 2022 will be here fast enough. Is there a 2022 vision plan or priority that the district wants us to work on? That's going to be part of that conversation. Summer school catalogs go to a lot of households, so we want to make sure that we're ready to roll for that. And how to best communicate what's happening in summer school. That's part of that catalog piece. So those are planned improvements for winter on into spring and then into summer of 2022. Proposal for dates. We always have a gap of a week from the last day of school, which I believe is June 4th, if I'm remembering correctly. And then a week off, and then we start summer school. so we can have a breather for kids and a breather for staff and to clean our spaces to get everyone ready. So we have a proposal of June 13th through the 17th, 20th through the 24th, and then the 27th through the 1st. That's the proposal for our academic and enrichment sessions in the month of June. Then we have to dance around really a couple of things, the first of which is the swimming availability schedule, because we go to New Richmond for that. And if the truth be told, another big event that we have to dance around is Polk County Fair, because we have a lot of kids that are involved in that and a lot of staff that are too. So the swimming lesson schedule you'll see there, 4 dates in the week of the 13th of June, then 4 more the week of the 27th, coinciding with the 2 weeks of morning summer school that we already have there in place. And then, it isn't done there. We have summer school in August, the 1st through the 5th, and the 8th through the 12th. And then we have more swimming lessons in August, coinciding with those dates again, 1st through 4th and 8th through 11th. So that's the summer school calendar, if you will. Looking ahead to 2022, we saw a decline in academic enrollments, shows the need perhaps to promote the programs and encourage participation in upper grades, and higher attendance anticipated with morning. So those are two trends that we want to keep our eyes on. So that's the tentative broad brushstrokes plan for 2022 and a snapshot of how it went in 2021. And if you have questions, I'll do my best. And if I don't know, I will find out from Laura, because I'm sure she does. So, questions for me or comments that you would like to make?
It just
Takes
seems
a lot
like,
of-
go ahead.
It takes a lot of planning.
Oh my goodness, it is an enormous job.
Yeah. It seems like there's a gap in swimming lessons, session 1, from the first week of swimming lessons, and then it's like they have a week off, and then they do the second week. Is that just from a scheduling?
Scheduling, we're held
Perspective?
hostage to New Richmond's schedule, and there's also the 4th of July in there we have to concern ourselves with. Yeah, it's really New Richmond Center's swimming availability, and we contact them literally the same time we're doing summer school in the summer for the next year. But we're not the only one vying for that facility.
I think that's happened before.
It has.
Yep.
That'll just be something to make sure parents are aware of and understand, because I think most people are used to having them 2 weeks consecutively, so to have that gap in
That's
there.
that communication piece. We'll have to use all of our resources to make sure folks know what's happening. Okay.
Well, comment on the community survey.
Well, the community survey is in mailboxes. It went out Friday morning, so either Friday, Saturday, or Monday, folks likely received it. The survey, as of 4 o'clock today, was 289 respondents. That was 90-plus staff, so that means about 190 or so members of the community. The deadline for taking the survey is November 8th. The results are pretty much instantaneous. November 9th is when we'll get them, and when I have them, I'll send them to you. November 15th, we meet here as a board to have conversation about what the survey results revealed. School perceptions will zoom in to help us understand them better. And then on the 18th of November, we have a community meeting to discuss those results with our community, whoever wants to show up and talk about them. So, survey's in the mailbox, and we encourage you to take it. Any questions on the survey?
No, I just like to reiterate to everybody to, when they show up in your mailbox, take the code, fill out the paperwork, do whatever you have to do to take this survey. Just the more people that we get to take it, the better of an idea we'll have. It's our job as a school board to do the will of the people, and we don't know the will of the people unless they tell us. And please, 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 just take the couple minutes. It's a few questions long, and fill out that survey. It will really help us.
Yes. And there's also a spot there for comments, too. if somebody
Yes,
wants to make-
absolutely. It's entirely anonymous, so
Yep,
chime in however you see fit.
yes, please do. Next reading is the seclusion policy.
First reading of the seclusion and restraint policy. It isn't that we haven't had policies surrounding the topic. but our policy is a bit outdated. So the guidance that you have here, Brad has secured through his agencies that he works with. So I'm going to have Brad, if you could, walk us through what you see here. Yes, it's verbose, but it's a large topic. It's just something you have to have a lot of language surrounding it. So I'll have Brad hit the highlights as to what you find here. Again, this is a first reading, so if you have suggestions for how to amend this isn't the last time you'll see it.
Thank you. So really, the purpose of this is to update the language and align it to the state law, which was updated and went into effect. That's Act 118, and we were charged with implementing this in March of 2020. Act 118 was passed in 2019, but we had a little time to get into implementing it and training up for it. It doesn't impact anything as far as training in our current practices because we've trained on the updated 118 law, but a couple of the highlights that it did update was to, one, clarify the written reporting to parents. The past version of the law said that you made the written report available to parents, but you didn't have to send it home. This one requires the district to send those home via email or standard mail. The other important thing is an IEP meeting requirement for any student that experiences 2 instances of restraint or seclusion during the school year. It charges the school district with scheduling and holding an IEP meeting within 10 days. Really, that's best practice. That's something that certainly we'd be looking to do in the past, so didn't impact us tremendously. Really, those are the 2 biggest ones. There was some updated language around covered individuals, which really speaks to anyone who's a school employee, contracted individuals. You'll see that on page 1. And it also clarifies that we would not use a prone restraint in there. And that is on page 2, under the definitions of physical restraint. That's item D there. The individual IEP program requirements are also there, second to last page. That's just stating that if there are 2 instances of physical restraint or seclusion, that we would be charged with holding an IEP meeting. And then we also have some language at the end of this policy around mandatory training for staff, for anybody who we would suspect would be in the position where they would need to use physical restraint or seclusion, that they're trained up in that. And for years at this point, we've been using the Crisis Prevention Institute's CPI training, which has been offered to staff for several years, beyond, certainly before I came to the School District of Amory. Yeah, so really, we kind of surveyed and looked at neighboring policies in the CISA, and this was one that was pretty standardly used, and I think it'll serve us well.
Any questions? Well, we've got a little bit of time to look at it, but it's a step forward.
Yep, you'll see it again next month.
Yep, certainly let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.
Brad, maybe, I don't know.
Go ahead.
And I know that a lot of this language is taken from other places, but under the disciplinary action for the violation of this policy, and so this kind of looks at the district employee engages in conduct intentionally. How is that decided?
Where are you reading?
On the
First-
last page, the disciplinary action for a violation of this policy.
Yeah, the first line.
Okay.
And so there has to be intent proven, obviously, here for disciplinary action to take place. And I guess my question is how is intent proven that they intentionally broke this policy?
Well, I think that's a matter for us to go back and define it. I don't know that we have an answer to that right here and now, but that's a good question.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll see a definition to the best of our ability of what intent would be in November.
Okay.
Well, and the next sentence says, a district employee engages in conduct intentionally if, when he or she engages in the conduct, it is his or her conscious objective to do so. A
Yeah.
district employee engages in conduct.
I guess that's my
knowingly.
question is how do you prove that that they were consciously breaking that, or is there language that supports that? Is there legal that supports that? I mean, because if you're going to look at that, if this is a policy, we're going to look at that as legal, and we end up having to, God forbid, put somebody on leave or
Right.
fire, or this comes into question in court, how is that defined either by law or by another policy to prove the intent? Is that an investigation? Do they willingly have to say something? Or
Right.
that or it's just because that they've been properly trained and that's happened, so.
When you talk intent, you raise the bar of regular in regards to proving what occurred, because intent is a tough one to prove.
Yep, and I think that we have to then look at that language. If
Spell it out.
then we can't define what that intent is, then we have to look at the language in the policy.
Sure. We'll look at it, and we'll bring it back.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, and the next day is that ugly word, snow, and emergency closing.
It's
I
not
like
ugly when you get the call and you don't have school on
Yeah, my kids
December
love it.
20th, and then it might be glorious if you're 12. So,
Well, you got 3, you'll be.
well, yes. So the policy that you see here is sort of a replacement of, in addition to, and a cross-reference to other policies. The intent behind what we're doing is we are trying to, if anything happened during COVID that we learned, it's how to do some virtual school. So what we're seeking to do is to not have to make up snow days on June 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, which is not the most productive time to have kids in school, trying to maximize how we would use virtual days. So what the policy does here is spell out, whether it be for inclement weather or whether it be for another reason that you had to close school, once you get past your threshold where you're deficient on your instructional minutes, then you could start using virtual days to fill in the gap so you don't have to make up those days in June. We have 3 snow days built into our calendar, as in we don't have to make up 3 of them. Once we got to 4, 5, 6, 7, and so forth, then we would need to make those up. So we build in 3 on purpose because of where we live. And at that point, we would virtual days beyond that 3rd. We could flip-flop in-service days, but our in-service days are really valuable. So we want to make sure we keep those as is. So this allows us to do that, and we've really never had the occasion to do virtual school on a snow day possibility ever, because we just didn't know that we could do virtual school. But again, the first 3, we're just going to have a regular snow day where it scrolls across the bottom of the screen and you get the phone call and you go outside and you do snow forts and that kind of stuff. But after that, then it would be potential for us to use virtual days. This language that you see here is basically word for word from the Wisconsin Association of School Boards. You have to have a policy if you're going to do it. So we're here in October. If we have a snowstorm before November 15th, then I guess we're okay. If we have 4 snowstorms, we're not. And I'm obviously being facetious, so hopefully we don't have any. So, questions,
Yes,
comments?
My kids are really excited to start the skiing season, so
A
they're hoping for
little
snow.
early on that, but
A year
yes.
ago, Trollhagen was already open.
Yeah.
We got a lot of snow in October last year.
And it could be for cold as well. If you remember, January from a couple years ago was really cold.
Yep.
Yes, we had
Oh,
several
could we
days
forget?
of cold.
Really cold.
How could we forget?
You just, wonderful news, aren't you?
Well, any other questions or comments on emergency school closings?
No.
So is it something that if we had 3 snow days or cold days or whatever, and we saw that there could be a potential one, we'd say, take your devices
Yeah.
home, or would we do it after, we wouldn't do it after 2 days necessarily?
No, we can't do it until after you're
Okay,
deficient
so we
on
wait
minutes. So
until
the
we
first
use
three are for
three.
sure a regular snow day, as it always has been. After that, we don't want to make up days in June. I
We
mean,
would say
But we
like,
could always add minutes
Yeah.
if for some
could,
reason.
if we
it
wanted
was-
to,
I mean.
To the day, yeah.
if we wanted to.
was
You
it
just have to meet a
last year?
threshold of
The year
minutes.
before, we had to add minutes.
It was the year of all the cold weather.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that
Well,
would have
it's
been
just sometimes-
2019.
I mean, you can kind of see maybe if cold or storm is coming, but obviously you don't usually know until the morning of, so you
Yeah,
gotta
you don't
kind
know.
of make that plan of if you're gonna send devices
This just
home
gives
with
us the
everybody.
opportunity to do it if we wanted to.
Yeah.
And hopefully it won't be an issue at all. But again, to do days in June is not the best time.
No. Yeah, I like the,
We would have the flexibility after
Yeah.
those 3 days, if on a Wednesday afternoon, the weatherman's saying it's gonna snow tomorrow, we could potentially close early and do a remote day. Right, and, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Certain members of the senior class will have us getting 18 to 24 inches of snow tomorrow. We got to cancel school. I know, it's just what they do.
yeah, I like this flexibility that this adds. I mean, we spend a lot of money on one-to-one technology in this district. We spend a lot of money on devices every year in this district. It has been a long wish of mine that we have no such thing as snow days and makeup days anymore because we have that capability, and so I like it.
We'll have 3. After that,
Right. but,
We're done.
Like, no more makeup
No
days
more.
because there's no reason for it.
agreed. Okay, that's it.
I see you added a school calendar policy online, but it wasn't here, so, and it was not on the agenda.
I'm not sure what, this is actually policy, it just doesn't appear on the website. Becky, maybe you could speak to that. Where do we find that again?
Oh, is it because it's cross-referenced?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it should be out there. The page is just under
Oh,
construction
it's
right
part
now.
of
Oh,
the
okay.
snow day. Okay.
You're talking 321?
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And 321 is
Should be
the,
out there. This is 321 should be out there. You
Yeah,
don't
it's
see it out
on
there?
the, it's
Oh, okay.
on,
Yep.
on here, yeah, that's why I was asking.
yeah, it's the bare bones of bare bones. This really, policy
Yeah.
doesn't really say anything at all.
Yep.
But the only reason we brought it here is for the cross-reference to the
Reference.
new
Yep.
policy.
Yep.
Are we reapproving this one, though? This school calendar one? 'Cause it
Well,
has-
some of that language is outdated and the cross-reference needs to be in there, so we don't
Because it says
need.
revised November 15th, so I'm assuming we're.
Yep, we would
gonna
keep
approve
it.
this one
It's
also.
just expanded upon based on what you just saw. And again, you'll see it again next month. This is just an informational item at this point.
Okay, then we'll go on to our action items.
Okay. We're here again to talk to Safe Return to School Plan. We approved in August, we reviewed in September, we're here again in October. What you'll see is a case count from last week, the 16th through the 22nd. The case count was 13. We had 4 staff and 9 students. You'll see the week before that would be actually the week of the 23rd through the 29th, that is this week. We have 5 total students and we have 1 staff member for a total of 6, and those all occurred over the weekend on into today. The September 1 through today count, you'll see 94 total cases broken down into each of the categories by staff, students, and then percentage. And then the last slide you see is the matrix that you adopted back in September. And that's again, week by week, building by building. We haven't gotten to 20 cases in any particular building, haven't even been close. So nothing is done different other than being in the green. So that's where we sit here today on October 25th. It's an action item. As I said, it would always be an action item. If you wanted to make a change, you could make a change. If you wanted to leave it as is, then you don't make a change and leave it as is. So I'll turn it over to you.
Do I have a motion to keep it enforced as it's written?
I don't think we need to, as long as
I don't
it's
think you
there.
need a motion, you
I
just don't do
think we need
anything.
to take any action on it at all, as long as it's working, and we've already done it, so,
Okay,
You don't need to do anything if you want to leave it as is.
yep. I think everything's looking good. I know we were
working.
close a few times of not having enough staff to cover. I think that's.
Yeah, we have touch and go in some places sometimes.
And I think that's been a testament to the staff's willingness to step up, and really, I know that we've pulled staff from places that they wouldn't necessarily have been before to cover classes so that we could continue to keep kids in school.
Yes.
And keep them here, even though sometimes their positions weren't being met in a meaningful capacity, and that they've had to put things on hold. So again, it, really shows that our staff step it up and do what it is necessary to make this work for our kids. And I think everything's going okay now, and things have settled down a little bit. So hopefully we don't have too many more bumps in the road, and looks good.
Well, we got through a fall sports season of athletics with one event left this Saturday, and we're starting to practice here in 2-3 weeks for the winter, and that's a great thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been great.
Good. Next, we have donations.
Donations, we have a donation from Bruce Gehrman for the donation of an Affinia 3D desktop printer for the high school, and that is the only donation. You would need to take board action if you wanted to receive that donation of the 3D printer.
I think that's an absolute. I'll make that motion.
I'd second that. This is really cool.
Yes.
I think this is like 3 months in a row now, we've been accepting donations from the
Probably more.
community.
Yeah.
We pretty much
Multiple.
just have it as a staple as on our board meetings now, because folks are very generous.
Well, that's great. That's
Yes, and thank
Very
you very
positive.
much.
It's a huge
Oh.
asset.
Do you know where that's being used? Is it a specific
High school tech ed,
in tech ed?
art,
Oh.
sorry, high school
That's
art.
Cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you again very much. Motion's
I would
passed.
like to, Mr. Gould, this is being given to the high school. It would be really awesome if somebody from the art class could bring something that was 3D printed from this donation and share at a future board meeting. If you could put that in somebody's ear. Thanks. That's super cool.
A
Technology.
3D picture of Shar.
No, not that. There is not enough material in that's a very small printer for that. No. It'd be sitting there running for the rest of the year.
Just thought it was an idea.
Next, do we have Mr. Gould with the
Yes.
Start College Now and Early College?
All right, this is the program that is set up by the state that Dale pointed out last year is one of those things we absolutely have to approve. We have 6 students.
Well,
Yeah,
be
it's,
honest, right?
it's that thing again. We have 6 current students that are taking advantage of either higher education credits in the UW system or from one of our local technical colleges, CBTC or WITC. As I mentioned before, we have 6 students at this time who have signed up for this awesome opportunity.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve this, Dale?
I would make a motion to approve this, and it is a great opportunity for these kids,
It
right? I
is.
mean,
And great
it could
that they
be,
take that opportunity.
saving a semester of college expense, so
That is correct.
Yeah.
kudos to them for taking advantage of it, so.
I'll second that.
And second is Aaron. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. There we go. Next, we've got the budget levy.
All righty.
10 million.
With the recent October 15th aid certification from the state, our financial picture becomes a little clearer. It's never, the funny thing is you never know how much your budget you're going to have until after the school year starts, and you never know how you're going to finish until the school year's end. I don't know how that works, but there's people at state that determine that. We did have about 12.3% increase in our levy this year. You may ask why on that. 2 factors that really figure into that is we had a 9% increase in our property valuation within our district. Combine that with decline in enrollment due to the pandemic mostly, which wasn't corrected by the state. It was one of the things that was up for discussion, but they did not do anything regarding that. In the eyes of the formula which they come up with to come up with the general aid, that makes us look like a more property-rich district. Obviously, you have less FTEs or students to spread out the valuation across, and that's why that is. So with that, there was a 12% increase on that, and also our general fund increased up to over $9 million for the first time. So obviously, that's in a way good news for that. We also did have quite a bit of aid come in the form of declining enrollment exemption, which is part of that as well. That's offset in other areas, however, obviously you don't get as much for per pupil aid and things like that. The next slide is our mill rate is going to increase to, what do I have on that, 2.98 this year. Some of the reasons that the mill rate increases, I talked about the property valuation increased by 9%. We have no debt again, that you're aware of, which is awesome for the district in this area. And even with the declining enrollment exemption, which we got roughly $450,000, we still saw an overall reduction in the state utilization aid of $1.1 million compared to last year. And the allowable revenue limit increased by that $1 million also as well. So, any questions on any of that?
So this is the next piece of the puzzle in regards to your mill rate. Remember, we've had as a district 7 consecutive years of declining mill rate. This is the first year in 8 years that it's gone up, and not much. Went from 7.74 to 7.98. Again, the state average is in the low 9s.
And quite frankly, it would have declined if it wouldn't been for the enrollment loss with the pandemic.
And the state as a whole is down about 15% enrollment-wise, so we are not alone. Everyone looks the same as us, by and large. Where enrollments are up, there are virtual school outfits. It would make sense because some kids went virtual school.
And the mill rate increases, we're talking $24 a year on a $100,000 property,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
that's how you calculate that.
what people can apply to their own home values, property values.
So this is an item that would need to be approved.
I'll make a motion, we approve the 2021-2022 budget levy and mill rate.
Second.
Motion made. Shar, you second? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? There we go. Now we have our short-term borrowing approval.
This is another annual renewal you hear every year, like Josh said. It just authorizes us to draw upon funds in case we have shortfalls throughout the year at different times when state aids, their aids come at different times, and there are shoulder months and then there's valleys where we do need extra aid. And as our fund balance increases, the need for that lessens, and that's kind of the reason for it.
So the reason for short-term borrowing at the end of the day is because the timeline of state aid does not match up with the timeline of when you need to pay your employees. And that's true for everybody. It's always been sort of a nonsensical thing that we do with state school finance. That's why you have to have short-term borrowing, not because the district's experienced a $3 million shortfall. That's not what's happened.
And with this district, generally it's November and January, the 2 months that are our shoulder months that we need.
And we pay our employees in the budget year, July, August, September, October, before you even get your state aid allocation in November.
Correct.
So it does not line up.
Yep.
All right, anybody make a motion to accept that?
I'll move to approve the short-term borrowing.
In a second?
A second.
Aaron? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? There we go. Last on the list is personnel action.
Okay. A most up-to-date version of personnel. We've got new employees. We've got Becky Dahlberg in school nutrition, Lindsay Edwards in food server, Matilda Fox, clubhouse assistant teacher, Ariane Hone for clubhouse assistant teacher, Nicole Lank, school nutrition, extra C contracts for Larry Doughton in middle school basketball, Vance Frenshu, middle school basketball, reassignments, Jenny Winchell from a special ed para to a cook, and Fadia Sala from food server to special ed para. And we had resignations for Liz Bowman, bus driver, Matilda Fox for clubhouse assistant, and Ariane Hone for clubhouse assistant. So you would need to take action to approve those personnel items.
Do we have enough bus drivers?
Right now, we are fully staffed for bus drivers. I can't say we have an overage. We're still looking if you'd like to put your name in.
She can't work here, she can only volunteer.
Okay. Well, you can be a volunteer bus driver if you'd like.
That'd be great.
We're always looking for folks, whether it be in the classroom as subs, or whether it be bus drivers, food service, clubhouse. We have need in all those areas, but we are fully staffed in our bus driver fleet as it stands here today.
In our clubhouse, 2 resignations.
Clubhouse, we are very short-staffed, and we are looking for clubhouse people. We had 2 resignations as of today.
How
Those are
does
2
that affect
resignations.
our numbers? Do we have to turn any kids away at this point?
We already have a waiting list of 30, 40, but we don't have to turn kids away because of staff shortages. We had to do a lot of shuffling over the course of the last week because of COVID, but that's been the bigger reason. But we're always looking for clubhouse people, always.
It's just, looks weird that they are new employees and resigned at the same time, like, I don't know.
That
what
means-
happened, But,
That means they've been here less than a month is what that would mean.
yeah, it's not good. I mean, I know it's hard because, with, Head Start through the CISA meetings, they're having a lot of trouble hiring,
Everybody is.
and stuff, but, yikes.
No, do I have a motion to accept the personnel actions?
I'll make a motion, we approve the personnel action items.
And a second?
Second.
Char, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. They're carried. Do we have a need to go into closed
We
again?
do not.
We do not, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Well, I'll second it then.
One or the other. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're done. Thank you.